Shalom Melachim, peace be upon you, and welcome back to the broadcast. Today we are looking at our Torah portion for the week, and it's one of those double portions. We have Nitzavim and Vayelech, and it's actually, even though it's two portions this morning, they're not very long. It is Deuteronomy chapter 29, verses 9 through chapter 31. So let me give you the portion summaries. So we've got two portion summaries here, and then we will read the portion for today. The name of the 51st reading from the Torah is Nitzavim. I was pronouncing that wrong to begin with. Nitzavim, which means standing. And the name is derived from the first verse of the portion, in which Moses says, "You stand today, all of you, before the Lord your God." In this portion, Moses invites the entire assembly of Israel to take on the covenant. He warns them that if they sin, they will go into exile. But he also predicts that in the future, they will repent and God will return them to the land of Israel. In some years, Nitzavim is read together with the subsequent Torah portion, Vayelech, on the Sabbath. And so that portion means, "and he went." And that name is derived from the first words of the first verse of the portion. So Moses went, Vayelech, and spoke these words to all of Israel. In this short portion, Moses commands an assembly for a public Torah reading and a covenant renewal once every 7 years. He then finishes writing the scroll of the Torah and has it deposited in the Holy of Holies, next to the Ark of the Covenant. So that is what is on the agenda for today. Again, not super long, even though it's two portions. I just pray that you would be blessed by it this morning, and that God would anoint this reading, and that ears would be opened, and that you would hear something today that speaks to your spirit. All right. Enough rambling from me. Let's just read the portions for this week. King James Bible, starting with Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 9. "Keep therefore the words of this covenant, and do them, that ye may prosper in all that ye do. You stand this day, all of you, before the Lord your God, your captains of your tribes, your elders, and your officers with all the men of Israel, your little ones, your wives, and thy stranger that is in thy camp, from the hewer of the wood unto the drawer of the water, that thou shouldest enter into a covenant with the Lord thy God, and into his oath which the Lord thy God maketh with thee this day, that he may establish thee today for a people unto himself, and that he may be unto thee a God, as he has said unto thee, and as he has sworn unto thy fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and to Jacob. Neither with you only do I make this covenant and this oath, but with him that standeth here with us this day before the Lord our God, and also with him that is not here with us this day. For you know how we have dwelt in the land of Egypt, and how we came through the nations which ye passed by. And ye have seen their abominations and their idols, wood and stone, silver and gold, which were among them. Lest there shall be any among you, man or woman or family or tribe, whose heart turneth away this day from the Lord our God, to go and serve the gods of these nations. Lest there should be among you a root that beareth gall and wormwood. And it came to pass, when he heareth the words of this curse, that he bless himself in his heart, saying, I shall have peace, though I walk in the imagination of mine heart, to add drunkenness to thirst. The Lord will not spare him, but then the anger of the Lord and his jealousy shall smoke against that man, and all the curses that are written in this book shall be lie upon him, and the Lord shall blot out his name from under heaven. And the Lord shall separate him unto evil out of all the tribes of Israel, according to all the curses of the covenant that are written in this book of the law. So that the generation to come of your children that shall rise up after you, and the strangers that shall come from a far land, shall say, when they see the plagues of that land, and the sickness which the Lord hath laid upon it, and that the whole land thereof is brimstone and salt and burning, that it is not sown, nor beareth, nor any grass groweth therein, like the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah and Zeboim, which the Lord overthrew in his anger and in his wrath. Even all nations shall say, wherefore hath the Lord done thus unto this land? What meaneth the heat of this great anger? Then man shall say, because they have forsaken the covenant of the Lord God of their fathers, which he made with them, when he brought them forth out of the land of Egypt. For they went and served other gods, and worshipped them, gods whom they knew not, and whom had not given unto them. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against this land, to bring upon it all the curses that are written in this book. And the Lord rooted them out of their land in anger and in wrath and in a great indignation, and cast them into another land, as it is this day. The secret thing belongs unto the Lord our God, but those things which are revealed belong unto us, and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law. Chapter 30. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither the Lord thy God hath driven thee, and shalt return unto the Lord thy God, and shalt obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children and thy heart, with all thy soul, that then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity, and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither the Lord thy God hath scattered thee. If any of thine be driven out unto the uppermost parts of heaven, from thence will the Lord thy God gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. And the Lord thy God shall bring thee into a land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it, and will do thee good, and multiply thee above thy fathers. And the Lord thy God will circumcise thy heart and the heart of thy seed to love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. And the Lord thy God will put all these curses upon thy enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. And thou shalt return and obey the voice of the Lord, and do all his commandments which I command thee this day. And the Lord thy God will make thee plenteous in every work of thy hand, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy land for good. For the Lord will again rejoice over thee for good, as he has rejoiced over thy fathers. If thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which are written in this book of the law, and if thou unto the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul. For this commandment, which I commanded thee this day, is not hidden from thee, neither is it far off. It is not in heaven, that thou shouldest say, who shall go up for us to heaven and bring it unto us, that we may hear it and do it? Neither is it beyond the sea, that thou shouldest say, who shall go over the sea for us and bring it unto us, that we may hear it and do it? But the word is very nigh unto thee, in thy mouth and in thy heart, that thou mayest do it. See, I have set before thee this day life and good, and death and evil. And that I commanded thee this day to love the Lord thy God, and to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments, and his statutes, and his judgments, that thou mayest live and multiply. And the Lord thy God shall bless thee in the land whither thou goest to possess it. But if thine heart turn away, so that thou wilt not hear, but shall be drawn away, and worship other gods, and serve them, I denounce unto you this day that ye shall surely perish, and that ye shall not prolong your days upon the land whither thou passest over Jordan to go possess it. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live, that thou mayest love the Lord thy God, and that thou mayest obey his voice, and that thou mayest cleave unto him. For he is thy life, and the length of thy days, that thou mayest dwell in the land which the Lord swore unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give them. Chapter 31. And Moses went and spake these words unto all of Israel. And he said unto them, I am 120 years old this day. I can no more go out and come in. Also the Lord hath said unto me, Thou shalt not go over this Jordan. The Lord thy God will go over before thee, and he will destroy these nations from before thee, and thou shalt possess them. And Joshua shall go over before thee, as the Lord hath said. And the Lord shall do unto them as he did unto Sihon and to Og, kings of the Amorites, and unto the land of them when he destroyed. And the Lord shall give them up before your face, that ye may do unto them according to all the commandments which I have commanded you. Be strong and of good courage, fear not, nor be afraid of them, for the Lord thy God, he it is that doth go with thee. He will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. And Moses called unto Joshua, and said unto him in the sight of all of Israel, Be strong and of good courage, for thou must go with this people unto the land which the Lord hath sworn unto their fathers to give them, that thou shalt cause them to inherit it. The Lord, he it is that doth go before thee. He with thee will fail not, neither forsake thee. Fear not, neither be dismayed. And Moses wrote this law, and delivered it unto the priests and the sons of Levi, which bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and unto all the elders of Israel. And Moses commanded them, saying, At the end of every 7 years, in the solemnity of the year of release, in the feast of tabernacles, when all Israel is come to appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, thou shalt read this law before all Israel in their hearing. Gather the people together, men and women and children, and thy stranger that is within thy gates, that they may hear, and that they may learn and fear the Lord your God, and observe and do all the words of this law, and that their children which have not known anything may hear and learn to fear the Lord your God, as long as ye live in the land whither ye go over Jordan to possess it. And the Lord said unto Moses, Behold, thy days approach, that thou must die. Call Joshua, and present yourselves in the tabernacle of the congregation, that I may give him charge. And Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves in the tabernacle of the congregation. And the Lord appeared in the tabernacle in a pillar of a cloud. And the cloud stood over the door of the tabernacle. And the Lord said unto Moses, Behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, and this place and this people will rise up and go whoring after the gods of the strangers of the land, whither they go to be among them, and will forsake me, and break my covenant which I have made with them. Then my anger shall be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them, and I will hide my face from them, and they shall be devoured, and many evils and troubles shall befall them, so that they will say in that day, Are not these evils come upon us because our God is not among us? And I will surely hide my face in that day for all the evils which they have wrought, and that they were turned unto other gods. Now therefore, write ye this psalm before you, and teach it to the children of Israel. Put it in their mouths, that this song may be as a witness for me against the children of Israel. For when I shall have brought them unto the land which I swore unto their fathers, that floweth with milk and honey, and they shall have eaten and filled themselves and waxen fat, then they shall turn unto other gods, and serve them, and provoke me, and break my covenant. And it shall come to pass, when many evils and troubles are befallen them, that this song shall testify against them as a witness. For it shall not be forgotten out of the mouths of their seed, for I know their imaginations which they go about, even now before I have brought them into the land which I swore. Moses therefore wrote this song the same day, and taught it to the children of Israel. And he gave Joshua the son of Nun a charge, and said, Be strong and of good courage, for thou shalt bring the children of Israel into the land which I swore unto them, and I will be with thee. And it came to pass, when Moses had made an end of writing the words of this law in the book, until they were finished, that Moses commanded the Levites which bear the ark of the covenant unto the Lord, saying, Take this book of the law, and put it inside the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, that it may be there for a witness against thee. For I know thy rebellion, and thy stiff neck. Behold, while I am yet alive with you this day, you have been rebellious against the Lord, and how much more after my death? Gather unto me all the elders of your tribes, and your officers, that I might speak these words in their ears, and call heaven and earth to record against them. For I know that after my death you will utterly corrupt yourselves, and turn aside from the way which I have commanded you. And evil will befall you in the latter days, because ye will do evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger through the work of your hands. And Moses spake in all the ears of the congregation of Israel the words of this song until they were ended. And that is the end of the portion for this week, and the actual Song of Moses is how the next portion starts. And we'll talk about that song, I guess, when we do the next portion, which I believe is next week, if everything stays on schedule like it's supposed to. A lot of this portion that we read this morning was about the covenant of God and the warning about breaking that covenant and going your own way. And even in this Torah portion, God compares what will happen to the nation of Israel to what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah if they should corrupt themselves. But then he goes on to say that they will definitely corrupt themselves, that even now, like in that moment, like they haven't even walked into the land yet, they haven't even received all the blessing and the prosperity yet, and even then, in that moment, their hearts are wicked. He says, And it shall come to pass when many evils and troubles are befall them, that this song shall testify against them as a witness, for it shall not be forgotten out of the mouths of their seed. For I know their imagination which they go about, even now, before I have brought them into the land which I swear. You see, God knows the imagination of our hearts, knows what we're thinking, knows what we're desiring. And I can't help but look at the country I live in right now, and I know I bring this up often, and I think it's just because it's at the forefront of my mind right now, as I look at what's developing in this country and the wickedness that's developed among the culture and amongst the leadership, and we have gone astray. We have moved away from God over the last several decades in a very dramatic fashion. And I fear what the Bible says, which is that Sodom and Gomorrah are an example unto those who should hereafter live ungodly, which is what Peter says. It's also mentioned, and that exact phrase is also mentioned in the book of Jubilees. And we just read it right here. A similar thing out of this Torah portion. He said, And that the whole land thereof brimstone and salt and burning, that it is not sown nor beareth, nor any grass groweth therein, like the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, and how which the Lord overthrew within his anger and in his wrath. I continue to pray for God's grace and for God's mercy, and for him to remember all the people that are still here, that love him and that call upon his name and call upon the name of his Son, and that he would stand up for the remnant. But unless there's a massive turnaround, I fear we might reap these same promises that were given to Israel, which Israel did reap. They did go astray, and they went into captivity, and their nation was left barren. Not just once. It's amazing how people forget. They walk in the ways of God, they worship God, they make him the God of their nation. Then they turn away from him and destruction comes, and then they return back to him. Blessing comes again, and then they go back to their evil ways, and they're cursed again. And yet human beings just never learn. I guess it's just an unfortunate part of our nature, of our sin nature. We just always go astray. We just always go after evil imaginations. Let it not be so amongst us, amongst those of us who think of ourselves as the remnant of God left in this world. Not just in the United States, but around the world. And I believe there's going to be, while I believe trouble is coming, I believe there's going to be a great protection for those who really desire to walk in his ways, and who really desire to serve him, and who really do love him with their whole heart, whole soul, and whole mind. That's all I have for you this morning. I pray that you've been blessed by this Torah portion and by this reading. Lord willing, I'll be back with you next week. Peace and grace be with all of you, and until next time, God bless.